Hey guys, this is Jimmy and welcome to my music room. Today we're going to talk about the drum recording of TRUEWAVES. What I realized when we did the first one is that I didn't pay much attention to the drumming, or say I thought about drumming on the as the last thing, and I didn't want to make that mistake again for this album, so I was focused a bit more on drumming on this one and also prepping a bit better. This is a concept album, I produced it, and there are some tracks without drums actually. So the YouTube videos for this album are slightly different than the first album. First album I've re-recorded everything. On this one I put the camera while recording it. So what you see on the videos is the actual footage of the recording of the album. So the first track is called TRUEWAVES. It is to introduce the concept of the album. For this song I wanted to do something a little bit like the Strokes, with like thin drums. So I only put 5 mics on the kit and muffled everything else, so you can see that in the video, and try to play it like very straight and like the tightest possible. So there is kick, snare and hi-hat and overheads for the microphones. And yeah, so funny enough, I actually recorded this track last, so that's why it's last in the playlist. Then follows Untenable. Untenable is the most metal track we recorded so far. So I think we just wanted to address that we do love metal, and yeah, that's what happened with this tune. So it was a mix of both writing between Olivier and Mark, and obviously Mark came up with that massive riff, and yeah, so drumming wise I just wanted to keep it simple, especially for the beginning, something very heavy, nothing very innovative for that. What's quite funny about this actually is after the introduction and the first verse there are some electronic drums, but I didn't play those. They were played by the keyboard player on his keyboard, and I just thought they were great, so I left them as they were. And then the drums comes in with some 3-4-4-4 on the wah-wahs part, and this is like a bit freer on the drums, which goes on to the end riff. And the last riff of the track is, for me, very Metallica style, which is quite fun to play. But yeah, there is double pedal and everything. I think I did a little bit of copy and paste, and I think I made some mistakes when I was making the demo track, and we just left it as is. I think Mark just changed his riff and followed this. That's why it sounds like there's a lot of time signature, but that wasn't. It was just by mistake. So we just left it because it sounds pretty cool. But yeah, and then finishing with like this big riff. Lots of double pedal, which follows with Amuse, so no drums on that. So on live I usually just sit back and listen to it because I quite like it. And then Space Heater. So Space Heater, it was written by Olivier, and but drumming wise, the challenge with this tune is that everything is on the pushes, so all the chords, the keyboard chords always arrive on the push of the 4. Everything is on the pushes, and first time I played on it I was following those pushes, and actually I didn't really like it that much, because it was a bit disturbing, like it's quite a dancey track, and so the challenge with that was to keep it dancey but always playing those pushes. So sometimes, I think in the choruses, maybe once or twice I do the push, but most of the time I make sure there's always the one that follows, otherwise it breaks the groove too much. So that was kind of a little bit of a challenge to make that push happen, plus having the one and the groove carry on under it. There is a section which I quite like after the first chorus, where Mark played the guitar, which to me made me think like Thriller from Michael Jackson for some reason. So that's why on the drums I play something very straight, and then as soon as the verse comes back in, I go back onto the dancey thing. And yeah, and then goes on to the second chorus, same, all those pushes, so make sure the groove is there, and then middle 8. So the time signature in that middle 8 is 5, and there are some big drum fills, like the usual prog, kick and crash on the one, and then fills in the middle. But I didn't want to make it feel like it's a 5, so I tried to, I don't know, make those feels like it is a 4/4. Because again, this is a dancey track, and we don't want to have that like odd signature, time signature thing. And that goes on to like the middle 8 with the guitar solo, and then you've got those little vocals that feels like almost is an ABBA track. So always very straight, always on the one. 4 to the floor, as we say. And yeah, that's it. So this is followed by Leaving Behind. So Leaving Behind is quite interesting actually, because this is a tune. Sadly, I don't have the video of the recording, because I've recorded that in my old studio in France over Christmas, and I think I put my sister's camera on top of it just to have a little bit of a souvenir from this recording. But it's not the full track, and what I wanted to do with this tune is like a Beatles kind of vibe, so I wanted to have like a very simple groove, but the way it's produced, I wanted it to be on the side of the recording. So all along I play this kind of like between shuffle and straight groove, and very vibey, very a little bit like what I was doing in Erwin's opera. I like doing these kind of things. I think I always find a way to put it somewhere on an album. So I left as it is because it was very spontaneous, and usually when you have something very spontaneous like this, you cannot recreate it. So it had the sound of my old kit. It was pretty cool, so I left it even if I didn't have the recording, the video recording anyway. So this is followed by Above the Wheel. So I wrote this tune actually thinking a little bit like, actually there's a few stories about this thing, but like I was thinking about doing a tune like Haken, when they do all those like rhythm going all over the shop. So that was my attempt to do a Haken track. But first of all, before we go on to the rest of the track, there's one thing that's quite fun on this. So the introduction, it sounds like there's a forest. In the first album, there is a story. In the story, the characters at some point goes through a forest. And so when we were thinking about doing this concept album with like different sceneries and stuff, I just went down my previous work and I got all the equipment they had. So I think it's been long enough that I can tell that story. But I had all the equipment from the school. I had it all out. I was on my own. It was probably like 10 p.m. or something. And I took it all out, put it in the corridor. I put one mic at the end of the corridor, maybe one or two mics in front of the instruments. And I was just playing around with all those percussions. So they had all those Brazilian stuff and like snares and things. And I don't know, I just made up some rhythm. But then in the end, we didn't use that in the album. So I was like, I've got to use that at some point. And then turns out it went really well for Above the Wheels. So that's the introduction, made 4 years before the actual album. Anyway, and then the track goes on to that. So the really cool thing. So there's there is the introduction. So it's like a build up, blah blah blah, and then it goes on to the chorus. And this is my little tribute to Jeff Porcaro, because essentially the groove in the chorus is Mashanga from Toto. So it's that I spent hours and hours as a kid learning that groove. and I never got it sounding as nowhere near as good as Jeff. But anyway, I got it at a certain level where I was enjoying it, and I could play it on a record, and that was it. So that was quite fun, and I love playing this live. Then when we get on the verse section, that's where everyone is like, so this is the tricky section, this is the Haken style stuff, and obviously, as we know, this is not easy stuff to do when you want the whole band to be super tight. And yeah, it sounds good live, it sounds really good. And then this finishes with like a big build up, the drums everywhere, and then you can hear the planes going, because the storyline for this song is about the Wright brothers that invented aviation. Anyway, so that's pretty cool. After Above the Wheels, it's Lonely Diamond, Part 1. Everyone is saying in the reviews, will there be a Part 2? This, I don't know just yet. Probably one day, but I don't think there will be one in the next album. I'm saying this, I don't know yet. So we had another track actually for this album, which basically at close to the signing off of the album, where we're gonna send it to mix. Olivier went, it was a song called Fear and Joy, and guys, I think Fear and Joy doesn't fit the album, and I was like, I think you're right actually. So then we just like looked through all the recording we have all the demos and all these kind of things, and then I bumped into this tune that was called Amzio, the one of the very first track we did actually as a 3-piece, and turns out after there's like a busy section, and after the busy section there's like a long and slow track, and that's it. And once again, there are drums on this, but I don't even remember recording it. I think I recorded it also in my previous job, which I think it was a Yamaha kit, a tour custom, but I'm not even 100% sure. I definitely don't have any video recording of that. But once again, it was the same, because it was such a last minute thing. We just took that demo recording, and I think all we did is Olivier just played a little bit of some like a better part on the keys. We got Alex to play the bass on it, and then Mark this amazing and long like Pink Floyd-esque guitar solo, and I once again didn't do anything. I just produced and listened. And this goes on to Close. It is actually a really tricky song to play, just because it's not natural. Nothing is natural in this tune. When you listen to it, it feels like everything flows, everything is nice, but it's actually not that obvious when you play it. So most of it is in 5 again, and sometimes the drums goes on group of notes in 4 on top of it. So obviously you need to be careful to know where you land on the groove. So it's like it sounds like a 4/4, but it's actually a groove that lasts 5 beats anyway. So sometimes it lands on the snare lands on the 1, or the snare on the kick lands on the 1. And same in the middle, there's like acoustic section, and this sounds like a 4/4, but it's actually 5 as well. This big riff in the middle, which is just following the riff and make it sound as big as it can be. Oh yeah, so the end is 5 5 5 5, so 4 bars of 5, and then 6 5 6 5. But then when it goes on to the next section, there's 2 6 in a row. So if you listen to it sounds a bit more obvious when you listen to the bass or the keys. That goes so that's very 5, and then so I was following this and then trying to swing it a little bit on the right. We are now close to the end, and this is I Hear Them Whistling. So I hear them whistling. There's so many different drum parts, and because the whole song is like a mix of like a different. We try to put together a lot of different ideas, and somehow we managed to make it sound like a one thing. First of all, I didn't know how to start for some reason, because this is nice introduction, and you don't want to just interfere with everything that's going on. And the drums always sound so big in Zio, so I didn't want to like have some massive drums going in and then break everything apart. So I was thinking, well, how about I just play some toms, I remove the snare, the wires on the snare, so it sounds a bit softer, and that worked quite well. And I'm just following the groove with that. But the drums kick in properly in the keyboard section, which is pretty cool to play. And then this goes on onto another section which for us sounded like a Neil Morse section, hence why we got Eric Gillette to sing on it, might as well. So yeah, the whole thing is quite fun. So there's some double pedal after that. So that's like to do like an introduction. So Alex is slap the bass on it, is following the double kick. And then that goes into the metal section where Kovacs is doing his usual growling on it. So same. So there is like some heavy drumming on that. So you can see that I have different claws coming to this section, because when I arrive home I played it. So basically it comes twice, that same thing, that riff. And then I was playing like some groove, a little bit like I did with the first album. I just follow the guitar and then I don't really think of what I'm doing drumming wise. And I came back home and I listened to it and I was like, this is boring drumming. Boring! So I was thinking, let's do that again. So I came back, and that's why the claws are different. So, and then I jammed around and I was like, why are we not doing? Because I always feel a bit, I don't want to show off too much. Okay, this is me leading my project, and okay, he's doing some drum solos in it. And I'm like, well, some people do drum solos. Like Tool have probably a 5-minute drum solo on their latest album. So why couldn't I do it? So that's a little bit of that basically in this section, because we start with the riff, I play the riff, and then it goes on to a little drum solo. So it's not really a drum solo, but it's like heavy feels and easy drumming. And that goes on to the ending, which I actually now play with heavy drumming, because the guitars and everything it plays is this exact same thing as the introduction. So the thing I didn't want to do in the introduction to kind of break the vibe, I do all of that at the end because it's the end of the track and we want to make it like massive. Sadly, I would have liked to make this track much longer and do like one of those very long endings with maybe a guitar solo and stuff, but because this album has been on vinyl, we couldn't, we were just literally like on the timing. We had to stop there, which is why that ending is quite short, but live we play it longer actually. And we are finishing the album with End Wave. So as I said earlier, it's exact same track as the beginning, but I've recorded it twice because I don't know, I didn't want to just copy and paste the same thing, so I recorded it again. So it sounds very similar, but it's not exactly the same thing. So you will see in a video that done it again. So there's twice basically that section. The first one, TRUEWAVES, has the John Mitchell talking and introducing the concept. But at the end, there's not as much talking, and there's like the guitar playing the riff again of Above the Wheels, because these are the chords of Above the Wheels. And at the end, just John Mitchell starts talking and going on to the next, and basically everything goes to. I think I kept on playing on this, but actually everything stops, and that's it. That's the end of the album. So I hope you like this. If you like what you hear, everything is on my YouTube channel. You can watch all those videos. There's a playlist for it. It's in total 6 tracks. So have fun. If you have any question on the drums, on the production of this album, then please comment below, and I will see you next time.